My wife's anxiety is insane. A middle-aged man has had enough of his wife's severe anxiety problem. Is there a way to solve this extremely problematic situation? Or is this the end of their marriage? Find out in today's episode of Coach Ben's Case by Case.
I'm at my wit's end with my wife's anxiety. What should I do? I'm teetering on the edge of leaving my wife. Need advice for which way to fall. My wife and I met just over 7 years ago. Right from the beginning, I knew she had anxiety. So do I. I have always taken the time to sit and listen to her while she went through the thought process needed to escape the endless thought spiral, as she puts it. Sometimes I'm not in the right headspace to help her as much as I'd want to, but I let her know that ahead of time. Overall, I've really tried my best to be there for her. However, in the past year or so, her anxiety has become suffocating. She'll have moments of decisiveness, joy, and relaxation, but they really are fleeting. Here's exactly what happens every day, one way or another.
All right, so they're married here in this case. Just hitting 30 years old, both of them. Now, when you get married, you say through thick and thin, rich or poor, through sickness and health. So it looks like his wife is having a mental sickness case. That's what it sounds like. He says, I'm at my wit's end with my wife's anxiety. What should I do? I'm teetering on the edge of leaving my wife. So he's already thinking about divorce. That's how bad it is. Let's go ahead and see just how bad this situation is. I need advice for which way to fall. My wife and I met just over 7 years ago. Okay, so almost at that decade mark. The first decade is pretty difficult, the synchronization process. Many people still fail even after 10 years. They have to go up to 20 years just to successfully synchronize if the relationship is actually going towards a direction of possible perfection, becoming soulmates and beyond. Just because, remember, just because a couple is together for 30 years, 40 years does not mean that they are actually perfect soulmates. They could just be settling for each other and living a mediocre, miserable life, saying that they love and hate each other. That, in my humble opinion, is not true love. And it's really sad that many couples fall into that category. They think that time proves how much you love each other. So here they are struggling already 7 years, only 7 years into the relationship. Right from the beginning, I knew she had anxiety. So do I. I have always taken the time to sit and listen to her while she went through the thought process needed to escape the endless thought spiral, as she puts it. Well, let's see just how bad the thought spiral is. You know, we're talking about through sickness and health here, right? The marriage vow. Sometimes I'm not in the right headspace to help her as much as I'd want to. Okay, so yeah, because he's probably, I imagine, he gets stressed too. Probably from work or life in general or just dealing with their issues. But I let her know that ahead of time. Overall, I've really tried my best to be there for her. However, in the past year or so, her anxiety has become suffocating. All right, so he's on the edge of leaving his wife, divorce, full divorce, feeling like he's suffocating in the quicksand. She'll have moments of decisiveness, joy, and relaxation, but they really are fleeting. Here's exactly what happens every day, one way or another. Okay, let's go ahead and see what happens on a daily basis, pretty much is what he's stating.
She calculates time until we can sit down and eat dinner every night, and gets very upset when we miss that time. She worries about the drinks she's having and how she doesn't want to be hungover. She gets upset if she can't have the drinks she wants, and gets very upset if she can't sleep because she's hungover. She constantly talks about things that she is stressed about. I listen, I ask if she wants advice, if she wants to meditate, if she wants to just be heard, if she wants to write it down and make a thought map, if she wants to take a walk to clear her head, etc. I used to be someone who complained about everything all the time until my therapist asked me why I complained.
All right, sounds pretty bad so far. So let's go ahead and go over it here. She calculates time until we can sit down and eat dinner every night. Here's my question. What is causing her anxiety? Because they already agreed before they got married that he was anxious and she's anxious. They have a problem with anxiety. They probably thought that, see, this is why I always tell people that opposites don't always attract, and also like-minded people don't always attract. It's just all depends case by case. That's why I'm doing this. It's not always true that opposites attract, or just because you guys have things in common that, okay, we make the perfect couple because we have several things in common. You have anxiety problems, I have anxiety problems, we understand each other. Yeah, but you're not looking down the road in the relationship just how bad that this can actually turn out to be if one or both of you loses full control. You guys have to squash it then and there before entering into a lifelong committed relationship. You have to be patient. Yes, you can dominate anxiety, at least on a decent level of control, because it will spell problems in the future. So you can keep kicking the can down the road and just say, okay, you have anxiety issues, so do I. Let's just get married and see what happens. You're playing with fire. It could be depression issues or nervousness or any other negative emotion or negative thoughts or whatever other type of negative energy there is. It all depends. But if you keep kicking the can down the road and not addressing the problem, you're only asking for future problems. Let's go ahead and keep going down here. And gets very upset when we miss that time. Okay, so is this obsessive compulsive disorder? Because why is she getting so upset? It seems that she's obsessed with time of eating dinner. Let's go ahead and keep going here. She worries about the drinks she's having and how she doesn't want to be hungover. Well, I hope that alcohol is not heavily involved here, because you're talking about hungover and drinks. Alcohol, in this type of dire situation, it shouldn't even have a part to play. Not even one glass a day, a glass of wine, a glass of anything alcohol content related. No alcoholic beverage whatsoever. You guys have to conquer this anxiety. If you guys want to have 1 cup a week. See, this is the problem also with people who commit themselves to substance abuse and think that that's normal, that's natural because everybody does it. They're gravely mistaken, because you're only making a bad situation worse. If you have mental or emotional issues such as anxiety, tossing alcohol into the mix to the point where you're getting drunk, intoxicated by these toxic beverages, and you think that's okay, you're making a bad situation worse. She gets upset if she can't have the drink she wants. So she's insisting. Why is she so miserable? There's always a cause and effect, causality. What is causing this? And gets very upset. Once again, he said upset like 2 or 3. He said it 3 times already in a single paragraph. And gets very upset if she can't sleep because she's hungover. I mean, who wouldn't be upset? Lay off the alcohol. That's the main problem. That's step number 1. And if she insists on getting drunk, then yes, I can see why you're teetering on the edge of divorce. This is absolutely unacceptable, to be married to a drunk person who wants to get drunk all the time. I mean, she should be going to get therapy for that. That's the correct answer. I haven't heard that so far. Let's see if we find that out. She constantly talks about things that she is stressed about. I listen. I ask if she wants advice, if she wants to mediate or meditate, if she wants to just be heard, if she wants to write it down and make a thought map, if she wants to take a walk to clear her head, etc. I used to be someone who complained about everything all the time until my therapist asked why I complain. Okay, so the same should be done with your wife. Where's her therapist? You didn't mention that. See, that's the second step. Get rid of the alcohol, whether she likes it or not, because you're talking about a marriage going down in flames as a consequence, because you're already fed up with it. Now, I don't know if the husband drinks also, because, once again, what's causing her to be so upset and turn to alcohol abuse? And also to be so obsessed with eating dinner every night. Let's go in and see what other problems arise in this particular case. I'm really interested to see.
My therapist told me to do my best to reserve complaints for times when complaining will lead to constructive outcomes. That idea has helped me tremendously. I have tried that with my wife, but she ignores that ideology. She does not like socializing, and she very strongly does not like birthdays and holidays. Both stress her out, as she feels she needs to meet people's unrealistically high expectations every time. She has tried therapy, she has tried medication. She stopped both due to incompatibility. To give credit where credit is due, she still looks for therapists and has reached out to some. However, she is staunchly against the idea of teletherapy and against medication. I support her decisions, but I really want her to at least try the teletherapy. She says that she'll go to therapy when we get a house, but I think that's just her moving the goalpost.
Okay. Now I see just how dire the situation is. This is the most important part of the case, I imagine. My therapist told me to do my best to reserve complaints for times when complaining will lead to constructive outcomes. Okay, yeah, good. That idea has helped me tremendously. Well, you have to be a problem solver, not a troublemaker. I have tried that with my wife, but she ignores that ideology. She does not like socializing, and she very strongly does not like birthdays and holidays. Why is she so miserable? Birthdays and holidays? I can't imagine that. I mean, unless she's turning to alcohol once again because she's so miserable. So not even something to celebrate about motivates her to stop drinking so much, because I imagine she has a drinking problem. Talking about getting hungover. Both stress her out, as she feels she needs to meet people's unrealistically high expectations every time. Okay, so she might be one of those people who is overly responsible, and so they critique themselves constantly. They have to be, it's not a perfectionist attitude, because a perfectionist attitude is something positive and an understanding approach. Yes, you're obsessed with perfecting something and always being correct all the time, but you're humble as well, and you actually respect the times when you don't get it right. All you say is, with a positive perfectionist attitude, such as what I have and my soulmate, what we do is we always try our best, but we don't obsess over it either. We don't say, oh, well, we failed. No, we just say, oh, next time I'll do it better. That's the correct perfectionist attitude. Now, this one sounds like it's obsessive and compulsive, and it's chronic on the wife's behalf. So unrealistically high expectations, if she's trying to please everybody meticulously in every little detail, then yes, that is a mental and emotional problem. So no wonder, maybe that's the cause for her to go abuse alcohol, substance abuse. She has tried therapy. There we go. Those are the golden words. She has tried medication. She stopped both due to incompatibility. Well, I'm not sure about that explanation. I mean, it sounds like an excuse. Incompatibility. I can understand medication if it has an adverse effect. However, if you tried therapy, the same one that you're going to, your therapist, and you said it works for you, it's not working for her, either change therapists or try a different approach. Maybe marriage counseling, something. I mean, she should also be in the Alcoholics, Anonymous group trying to get rid of her alcohol addiction. That would be, like I said, one of the most important steps in this case. To give credit where credit is due, she still looks for a therapist. Okay, so she is trying to look for another therapist. That's something positive. So let's go ahead and note that. This is the only positive part of this whole case. But she's still an alcoholic, it seems like, and has reached out to some. However, she is staunchly against the idea of teletherapy. That means having a therapist via electronic means, so maybe through a computer, over your smartphone, and against medication. Okay, well, I don't support medication in all cases, but I'm not a doctor, so talk to your doctors. But if it could be done without medication, brilliant, excellent. That's the ideal scenario. I support her decisions, but I really want her to at least try the teletherapy. She says that she'll go to therapy when we get a house. I don't know what getting a house has to do with. That's a pretty lousy excuse. That's probably the most horrible excuse in this whole case so far. But I think that's just her moving the goalpost. Oh, exactly. Of course she's moving the goalpost. Now, there's another question. Why is she avoiding being serious about finding a therapist? Just pick one, anyone. One is as good as the next because you're not going to know unless they have a solid reputation. But even then, they can advertise perfect reputations out there and they could still not work for you, any therapist or psychologist or any type of counseling. So let's go ahead and move on to see how this case plays out towards the end. Okay.
Once a month, she is incredibly anxious for 3 or 4 days. Anxious to the point where we have a digital blood pressure sensor to track her blood pressure those days, and it gets high. Those days are very hard for her, and I can't tolerate them anymore. Everything she struggles with already becomes impossible, and something as simple as just sitting down for dinner will usually include a panic attack or hyperventilating. I really don't have the mental energy to deal with this anymore. She never speaks up for herself, but will make comments if things aren't going her way. This has happened countless times and in countless ways. We will discuss dinner options and she will say she has no opinion. So I'll pick the food we're eating and make it most of the time, or rarely we'll get takeout. I'll either be almost done making it, or we will be eating, and she'll say, "I wish we were having something else instead," usually accompanied with a disappointed look on her face.
So something to keep in mind is the husband's urge to want to grab a divorce justified, yes or no? Let's go ahead and find out. Once a month, she is incredibly anxious for 3 or 4 days. So this is pretty chronic. Anxious to the point where we have a digital blood pressure sensor to track her blood pressure those days. And it gets high. Okay, so it's pretty serious. Those days are very hard for her, I can imagine. And I can't tolerate them anymore. Everything she struggles with already becomes impossible. And something as simple as just sitting down for dinner will usually include a panic attack. That is very abnormal. I do feel sorry for this man's wife. I really do, because that sounds like she's going through more of a nightmare than he is. So let's see how supportive he is, or if this situation can be remedied. Because if he's already thinking about getting a divorce, I'm not so sure about that. Are you leaving her behind? Are you really trying your ultimate best? I'm not so sure. Let's see if we should have any sympathy for the husband if he really is trying his absolute best here. Or hyperventilating. That's pretty traumatic. Panic attacks and hyperventilating, just sitting down for dinner. I'm not so sure what's going on there. I really don't have the mental energy to deal with this anymore. I can imagine. No wonder he's exhausted. But again, we can't really know what the wife feels like. She must be going through quite a nightmare. This is a real mental and emotional problem. Panic attacks, hyperventilating with anxiety. She never speaks up for herself, but will make comments if things aren't going her way. This has happened countless times and in countless ways. We will discuss dinner options, and she will say she has no opinion. Well, I can imagine she doesn't care much about anything if she's suffering so much. So I'll pick the food we're eating and make it most of the time, or rarely we'll get to takeout. I'll either be almost done making it, or we will be eating, and she'll say, "I wish we were having something else instead," usually accompanied with a disappointed look on her face. Well, she's miserable, okay? I mean, that's the excuse, if there was any excuse, for her negative responses here and complaints. So let's see if the wife's reactions are justified, because she's going through a nightmare situation, a tornado, a hurricane, call it whatever you will, of negative energy. Let's see if this relationship is salvageable, because even if he does divorce her, she's still going to have to solve these issues. And that's the saddest part of this entire case. I really feel bad for this woman. Whether she stays married to this man who's trying to do his best, I imagine. It sounds like he is. Let's go ahead and see how this case concludes, shall we?
I cannot begin to describe how much it hurts me when I put together an objectively delicious meal, just to be told it doesn't look appetizing. It is agonizingly frustrating. She started to make weird and offhand comments and jokes about me cheating on her. She keeps asking if I'll cheat on her when we're older, or if I'll cheat on her if her sex drive decreases. These comments have cropped up out of nowhere and are really disturbing. I'm at a complete loss for what to do. On top of all of this, she has been on the fence regarding kids for a while. 2 months ago, she confessed to me that she changed her mind and wants a kid. But she wants to wait until we're 35. She isn't ready to, in her words, be sober for that long. But in the same minute, she said that she may change her mind again and doesn't want me to leave her if she ends up not wanting kids. I really need advice on what to do. I'm truly at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do. I have no one to talk to. I really need help.
I have to say it again. The biggest mystery of this particular case is what caused her to spiral out of control. Because now she's mentally and emotionally out of control. It's straight up a medical condition that perhaps the husband just cannot fix at this point. But my magical question is, the mysterious question is, what caused all of this? How did she get to this point? Was it just the alcohol? Because the alcohol was her crutch, which doesn't cure anything. You're just going to wake up with the same problems after you're passing out, your hangover. Let's go ahead and see here. I cannot begin to describe how much it hurts me when I put together an objectively delicious meal, just to be told it doesn't look appetizing. Well, she's not going to feel good at all, apparently. So that's just what it is. It is agonizingly frustrating. She started to make weird and offhand comments and jokes about me cheating on her. Okay. Well, that's pretty uncalled for, because what does cheating have to do with the meal that you're preparing at that time? That's pretty confusing. So she's insecure. So does this have any correlation with what caused her to spiral out of control in the first place? We're not going to really know, because, like I said, in every case, we have to take the benefit of the doubt for whoever's writing this. This is from the husband's perspective. Is the husband culpable for her spiraling out of control? I don't know. But why is she talking about him cheating on her? That's pretty awkward. That's pretty left field. It came out of nowhere. She keeps asking if I'll cheat on her when we're older. Why is she so insecure? You guys have been married for 7 years. I mean, regardless, if there was actually a reason for her to suspect that you would be unfaithful to her in the future, in the past, something you've done to make her suspect, then okay, I can understand that suspicion. But if this is just coming out of nowhere, then she's pretty much losing her mind if that's the case. Or if I'll cheat on her if her sex drive decreases. Okay, so she has anxiety. That's just pretty much the magical word there, because why is she concerned about her sex drive decreasing with age or in the future? These comments have cropped up out of nowhere. Exactly. That's what I'm saying. And are really disturbing. Well, they are disturbing, but again, why? If they really are from out of nowhere, then that is pretty shocking, to say the least. And there probably is no reason for it. Maybe she's just losing her mind. But like I said, if she has reason to suspect, why did she spiral out of control in the first place? We don't have that missing puzzle piece. If it exists, we don't know. So just taking this case at face value, as we always do, it sounds like she's going cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. So I'm at a complete loss for what to do. On top of all this, she has been on the fence regarding kids for a while. 2 months ago, she confessed to me that she changed her mind and wants a kid, but she wants to wait until we're 35. Okay, so like 5 more years. She isn't ready to, in her words, be sober for that long. Oh boy, are we referring to the alcohol again? The alcohol problem. But in the same minute, she said that she may change her mind again and doesn't want me to leave her if she ends up not wanting kids. Okay, so this back and forth is really, that is insane. I really need advice on what to do. I'm truly at the end of my rope. I don't know what to do. I have no one to talk to. I really need help. Okay, well, it sounds like the only help that can be done at this point is medical attention, whether it be a therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, if it gets that bad. As far as medication, I can't say. But clearly, as a couple in a married relationship, this marriage is not looking too good because it sounds like she's beyond the point of no return. Can authentic, genuine love cure the situation from the husband? Because it sounds like, let's go ahead and say, the husband is not patient enough. He's probably saying he's patient enough because they only been with each other 7 years. Has it always been like this? It doesn't sound like it. But why has it culminated to this point? And is it salvageable? That would depend entirely on what kind of relationship that they carry. Because if she can put that alcohol away and she can go get help for it, then there is hope for the relationship. Because tossing the alcoholic problem out of the case, out of the situation, would drastically help her improve emotionally and mentally, I imagine. However, if she is beyond the point of no return, then it doesn't even matter if she gets rid of the alcohol because she has that anxiety problem and she's having panic attacks and hyperventilation when she shouldn't be having them. Because it's not like we're talking about they're having arguments and she's losing control over her mind and emotions. This is just happening sporadically. So again, we have too many missing pieces to the puzzle here, unfortunately. And my conclusion is she needs to seek some type of therapy one way or another. That's obvious. But is it salvageable? It sounds like it could be, but it's looking more like maybe not. But is divorce the right solution? You know, through thick and thin, through rich or poor, through sickness and in health. Clearly, she's not in good health. So as a husband, this is going to be entirely up to the husband to make the decision. Nobody, no therapist, no psychologist, not even myself, can give this man advice as to what to do next. Either you continue trying, or you grab the divorce and leave her in the dust. However, if you truly love your wife, the latter option, leaving her behind, is kind of cruel in my opinion. Because I don't think she means what she says about the cheating part unless you've done something in the past to give her reason to suspect that you might be cheating on her in the future. Unfaithful. So, but that's missing. So just taking this case at face value, yes, it looks like she's losing her mind. Is it too late? Only time can tell. And only you can make the decision whether you want to stay with her or not. And that's just the end of that. Nobody else can make that decision for you. It sounds like a nightmare situation. However, it's not the worst of the worst that I've ever heard before. So it is a small bit salvageable. But if she's already spiraled beyond the point of no return, mentally and emotionally speaking, then there is no solution. And if you want a divorce at that point, I guess, yes. You didn't mention any kids. So that's another factor. But it's just kind of, you know, if I really loved her and I was the husband in this case, I would still stand by her. Because she's not abusing me. She's just losing her mind. And I want her to get better. I would probably just stay there and see. I would try to the real end of the rope. Because he says he's at the end of the rope, that he's already teetering on the edge of divorce. Yeah, but it's not like she's abusing you. She's not attacking you. That's what it sounds like through this case, that you're not really culpable. And she's not really assaulting you in any way. She's not attacking you. She's not being problematic. She's just a danger to herself. Do you want to continue to help her? Yes or no? Because a marriage is supposed to last forever. In order to ensure that it does, both partners must be completely, 100% mentally and emotionally healthy from the very beginning of the relationship. Whether any severe physical problems, negative thoughts, or negative emotions exist, that needs to be taken care of from the very beginning. Because, like I said in the very beginning, if you keep kicking the can down the road, oh, we met each other, we were both having anxiety issues, that's not a good formula to get married with. Okay, because two wrongs will not make a right down the future. It could have been you losing your mind, and she has to make up the decision whether to abandon you or not. Unfortunately, too many marriages do carry on stubbornly, with all kinds of physical, mental, and emotional issues, tucking every problem imaginable, big and small, under the carpet, pretending as if they simply don't exist. Ignorance is bliss, right? Because a successful relationship requires absolutely every block to be checked and confirmed. And that's why I preach the art of perfection. And that's why the weakest people out there will say that perfection doesn't exist, because they don't have what it takes to put 100% effort into everything that they do, or the person that they claim that they love and their relationship. You don't have to go through ups and downs. You can have just only ups. And the only downs that happen are just things that are out of your hands, out of your control. That's the only downs that a relationship should have. Not because you caused it on purpose or your partner caused it on purpose. In this case, the wife is not doing this on purpose. She clearly has medical issues that need to be resolved. And that's that. That's just the end of that. This case, unfortunately, there's not much you can do on the husband's side. So I'm not going to repeat myself over and over, but I'm going to end it with, it's your decision. But if you choose to divorce her and to abandon her, in my eyes, the way I see it, this case, it is abandoning your wife, because she's not abusing you from what I could see. But if there is any signs of abuse, physical abuse, verbal abuse, and it's chronic, then yes, that would justify getting a divorce. And with that said, that's my final ruling on this case. This has been Coach Ben's Case by Case. Much love, everybody.